Hello, folks. Welcome back to all my returning viewers, and a big welcome to all the new people watching Top of Funnel for the first time. I'm Jeff Whitaker. In today's video, we're going to unpack Nvidia. Most technologies have linear growth rates, but very few grow in curves so steep they change the destiny of entire industries. Artificial intelligence is one of those technologies, and unlike electricity, aviation, or the internet, AI improves itself. Every new model makes it faster and cheaper to build the next one. In this video, we'll explore why NVIDIA sits at the center of this feedback loop and why understanding the self-accelerating dynamic may be the single most important investment insight in the decade. Okay, let's look under the hood. Okay, so founded in 1993 by a group that includes Jensen Huang, um, the current CEO. Jensen has a pretty interesting life story. Family lived in Thailand, sent by his parents to live with his brother in Kentucky, um, and to go attend a boarding school. Um, Economic opportunity and a safer way of life, a better future was what propelled the family to send them uh, to the United States. And during his school years, he received quite a bit of discrimination and bullying, and I think that this had a psychological effect of toughening him up and turning him into the fighter that he is today. And when I say fighter, I'm talking about competitor in the world of business. So, to understand NVIDIA, first of all, you have to understand that the paradigm, and I know I use that word quite a bit, but the basic philosophy of how we do the computer science stack is in transition from the CPU era to the GPU era. And I have a video on the AI investment opportunity that goes into the details of the difference between a CPU and a GPU. But suffice it to say that the CPU is kind of like almost like a dead end type of technology because of the physical limits that the laws of physics present for scaling down pathways for the electrons and circuits. And the GPU completely circumvents that and creates a new opportunity, a new way for humans to push the computer science forward. The original application for these GPUs was in video graphics acceleration. Okay. The team of people that formed NVIDIA in the back of their head had this idea that the CPU type of approach would eventually peter out and basically use the video graphics acceleration market in order to kind of like get a toehold in the world of business until they felt like the CPU had run its course. By the way, that this the name that is commonly given to the increased performance of CPUs over time is known as Moore's Law. All right, first applicate, we talked about that. If we go forward to 2016, Jensen Huang delivers the first GPU supercomputer to the people that formed OpenAI. Okay. And one of those people that happened to be there that day and an early investor in OpenAI was Elon Musk. It turns out that the massively parallel processing architecture of a GPU is the perfect format for running uh, large language models, okay, AI. So it wasn't too many years later. You flash forward to November of 2022 when ChatGPT is released to the public, and it kind of set off an explosion of interest and development in large language models and AI in general. Um, One of the things that differentiates the Nvidia technology is the fact that and a lot of people don't understand this dynamic because they think of Nvidia as a chip company, but they actually also create the software that runs on top of the chips, and you can think of it as the operating system for AI development, and it's called CUDA. Okay, the CUDA software sits on top of the NVIDIA hardware. One of the real powerful things about the NVIDIA ecosystem is that it does exhibit some network type effects, and the CUDA technology and the NVIDIA hardware system ensures that all the new GPUs that are coming out and being released as time goes forwards are backwards compatible with the older GPUs. Okay. So this backwards compatibility and the CUDA software provides a really strong network effect that tends to capture and hold customers in place. And we can see that this is going to show up in things like the profit margins for this company. Got a little graph here that shows that they have about 92% of the current market share with just very small amounts of competition from AMD and Intel, which don't have the advantages of the CUDA software platform. So in order to run AMD and Intel type of GPUs, then the companies will have to write custom code, and that's a very laborious process. So we're going to look at the financials. 5-year growth rate of 75%. Pretty impressive. But for the past year, we are talking astronomical numbers of 114%. 5-year earnings growth rate of 60%. For the past year, earnings growth rate of 145%. I mean, this is just mind-blowing growth. We're talking about the largest company on Earth in terms of market capitalization of between 4.7 and 4.8. Last time I 4.7, $4.8 trillion last I checked. And here we have a little graph that just shows the trend line for the Nvidia revenue. Okay. In the Palantir video, I talked about rule of 40. And so just to remind everybody that if we add the revenue growth rate plus the profit margin to a company together, we get a sense of how strong the business model is. And any number above 40 is considered to be a very strong business, especially for software type companies. And companies like Microsoft might have a rule of 40 of about 50, which is really good. But Nvidia is just the king of rule of 40 companies. We're talking about 114 for the rule of 40. Now, normally, a company with a very high rule of 40 score would have an astronomically high price earnings ratio, something like 2, 3, 400. This doesn't happen very often, but when we look at companies that have had this type of strength in their business model, people are paying a very high premium for the stock price. And with Nvidia, we're actually only paying a market premium that's not that much higher than other companies in the technology space of 45. In other words, the market kind of assumes that this growth is going to collapse in the very near future. And I don't think that's the case. And there's some reasons that I'm gonna present on why. Wall Street Pros, there's if you watch business news, if you read about business type information. There's everybody's talking about the AI bubble, and they have this analogy that this is like the dot-com bubble where the market collapsed, 2000. And this is just so completely wrong because back then what was happening is companies with zero earnings, zero, virtually no revenue were going public with these initial public offerings like pets.com, etc. And so all this money went into dot-com type companies that had no hope. There were a few companies that went public during that time and just before, like Amazon, that did come through this and develop into, you know, mega cap type companies. But um, Nvidia is not in that category of low revenue or no earnings type of company. It's completely the opposite. Every single GPU that gets produced is immediately put into use because of the demand for artificial intelligence. These AI applications are delivering real results. So we have this humongous substitution of AI for labor, and we're just scratching the surface on what the potential is because it's about $40 trillion market opportunity for substitution of technology for labor with AI. And that assumes that the total GDP of the world stays fixed. And what AI will probably likely do is expand the world's GDP. And so that total addressable market for AI products like Nvidia's GPUs is probably going to be much higher than 40 trillion. The entire CPU-based legacy data center system needs to be swapped out because GPUs are more performance efficient in terms of energy efficient. Another advantage that GPUs have is that they are, in a sense, more compute dense, meaning a single GPU type server, or yeah, chip, server, whatever you want to call it, can take the place of dozens and dozens of CPU type servers. So you can pack a lot more compute into a given geographic footprint for your AI data centers if you just, swap out the GPUs from Nvidia with CPUs. We're at the very beginning of what I would consider to be the democratization and customization of entertainment. Okay, there's programs coming out like Suno, where a person with virtually no music experience can immediately create high production quality music themselves. Okay, you don't need a music producer, you don't need a team of musicians. Okay, you don't have to be super wealthy in order to be able to, in a sense, hire artificially intelligent entities, agents, in order to help you produce music. We're getting the same kind of effect with video. We're at the very beginning of this. In the future, anybody will probably be able to make their own TV series or make their own movie using AI types of products. Current administration is very pro AI. Okay, so regulations that had been holding in the GPU type of market and have reduced those regulations so that now um, GPUs can be sold with much less regulatory paperwork and headaches, so that we're allowed to sell into foreign countries a lot easier. Um, Trade barriers that have been put in place in the year 2025, especially on the US side, have increased the demand for labor. Okay, we want to reshore manufacturing to the United States. That drives up the demand for labor. And then what that does is it creates large incentives for companies to substitute artificial versions of labor for employees. And so if you look at the hiring trends for the mega cap AI type companies, Companies like Microsoft, their employee counts have actually been trailing down a little bit, and you're starting to get layoffs at companies like Amazon and et cetera, because just the cost savings of substituting AI for human labor has is just beginning. Humanoid robots are going to be a thing. I mean, Tesla is setting up a manufacturing line right now in order to produce hundreds of thousands of humanoid robots, and the videos that are coming out on their capabilities the past month is just mind-blowing. Okay. All right. So that was a little video clip of something that I was going to demonstrate the difference between something that was made by hand and something that was made using Sora. So anyways, going to skip that. All right. The self-acceleration of this type of technology is the main focus of where I think the opportunity lies for this company because um, it's a technology that actually is helping to propel itself and to expand itself, which is very rare. If we look at other technologies that have been important in human history the past 100 years, things like cell phones, penicillin, NFTs, magnetic resonance imaging machines, these are all really valuable and important technologies, but um, unlike AI, okay, they're not self-accelerating. They don't help propel themselves forward. AI, and you can see in this little infographic here, uh, actually helps the development of AI, actually helps create new tools, improved tools that are then used for developing improved GPUs and improved large language models. And so you get this positive flywheel type of feedback effect. And then things that spin out or fly out of this little flywheel are things like Meta, smart glasses, autonomous vehicles, agentic voice commerce, image, video generation, stuff like that. Um, with regard to Meta, Meta recently announced that they were going to be cutting their spending on their metaverse product and redirecting those resources into their AI smart glasses. So, all the trends are pointing towards more and more demand and more resources for AI type products, and Nvidia has is kind of like the toll bridge that you need to cross in order to get into this world of AI. Okay, so I actually about 4 or 5 months ago, I sold down about half of my position in Nvidia. It had grown to about 25% of the value of my portfolio. It had grown so much that if I tend to get a position that's highly concentrated over 20% in any one particular investment, I start to get a little nervous. So yeah, I began selling that down. You know, this is you know, it's a technology stock. I've said this in other videos, and I think that it has tremendous growth opportunities going forward, and that Wall Street is not giving this company the premium valuation that it deserves. So, each person needs to do their own research. This video is not investment advice, and my risk tolerance is much higher than most people's. But anyways, I wanted to share this information in order to give you some insight into what's going on with Nvidia and the AI investment opportunity. So I'm Jeff Whitaker, and until next time, thank you.